Cool. All right. Well, happy Friday, everybody.
Happy
Happy, happy,
Friday.
happy.
Friday.
Oh man, listen, today is what May. I was gonna say, I don't know what I was gonna say. Today is May. May the 10th, right? It is Friday, May 10th. We made it to Friday. I am Keisha. I am one of the hosts of the Regal Mindset Podcast Show. I will let my other host introduce herself, and then we'll move on to our distinguished guests, and we'll talk about tonight's subject. Go ahead, Jay.
Absolutely. I am Joy, the coach. I am your millionaire, your mystic, your mindset transformer. I'm excited about this evening. You can always catch us on regalmindset.com. Make sure you like, you share, sign up for your notifications on YouTube, on all social media platforms. Regal Mindset.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Okay. So we have some very distinguished guests that are joining us tonight. And tonight's subject is Motherhood Our Way, right? So
Our way.
our way, exactly. So we're going to explain what our way means. But we'll go ahead and start with my top left, which is Sean. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to meet you all, fellow guests and hosts. Thank you for having me. My name is Sean, and I go by the boss.
The boss.
Okay, boss. I love it. All right, Undy, you are joining us tonight. Thank you so much again. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is Andy and live in Las Vegas, and I have one son. He just turned 20, actually this week.
Jeez.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
been
God.
yeah.
Joey.
I know Joey. You've known him for a long time, so yeah, he's a man
Oh
now.
man.
I'm excited.
Man, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to talk about
Absolutely.
my journey with him and raising him, and thank you for having me.
Oh, sure. All right. So, and then next we got another wonderful Keisha. We got
This
Keisha the
a Keisha.
therapist. Hey, Keisha,
Yes.
go ahead and introduce us. Introduce yourself.
I appreciate that, LS. I'm Keisha. I'm a therapist. I have 3 beautiful children that I've adopted. So I appreciate you extending the invite for tonight.
Absolutely. All right. And Malachi last, but of course not least, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Malachi. I am a trans guy. I've been transitioning for going on 8 years now, and I gave birth to a 3-year-old son and just gave birth to a 2-week-old baby girl right here. And I'm out here in Memphis, Tennessee. Nothing special out here.
Okay.
Uh, See, I'm a licensed massage therapist, an armed security officer, and a drag king. That's about it.
Wonderful. I love it. Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, so again, I just want to thank everybody because I know tonight's Friday night. Y'all could be out here in these gay streets. We
The gay
understand that, but
streets.
y'all talking to us and telling us and explaining to us about your motherhood journey. So, first question, I guess, right, to open it up to everybody. Everybody here is a mother of some in some nature. Whether you birthed the kids yourself, adopted, whether you've collected them along the way through relationships or what have you, or you're married and married into a family and you co-parent with them. I would say the first question would be, what is your favorite thing or the most rewarding thing about being a mother? That's open to anybody.
Well, I'll go first.
Go
So
ahead.
now, even with our topic, motherhood, our way, we want to make sure we have respect for Malachi and all of our viewers so that we address him the way that he desires to be addressed. So, see, so for all of our viewers, Malachi, how do you want us to address you to make sure that we're respectful of your presence?
Well, a lot of trans guys that give birth, we just consider ourselves like seahorses because seahorses
Seahorse.
are like the only, animal. Well, one of the only animals, male animals that give birth to their own offspring. So that's what we
Okay.
just consider ourselves, seahorses or seahorse dad.
Okay. So we want to go with that.
Wonderful.
Okay. All right, so that's for all of our viewers. We always want to make sure that all of our guests feel comfortable and respected at any time. Now, me personally, I did I could not muster enough strength to biologically do anything. So that's just me. I knew it wasn't in the cards for me. I knew that I wanted to be a mother, but I didn't that route was just not this, it wasn't in the cards. And so, I went through a lot of journeys where in relationships, I got into relationships because of kids. I dealt with people because of kids. Um, and I went through a surrogate twice and it didn't pan out. And I lost a lot of money during that process. Then when my wife and I got together, I took in her children, and it was still I didn't have anybody that was mine. Now, biologically she's not mine, but I named her, I paid for that good sperm, and I financed the entire thing, and she has my last name, she is mine. And so that was my contribution to her. We produced her through IUI, and we're very open about that process. And it took a lot. It was a lot. We went through some other routes with known individuals, but we ended up purchasing from a cryo bank, and we went to a physician, and she was the second round pick.
Okay.
It sounded like a draft. She was the second round pick, and I was blessed to find out actually on Mother's Day that we were pregnant. And I knew it was going to be a girl. I named her over 20 something years ago. If I had a daughter, her name was going to be Abigail. And so that was our story. So you know, above and beyond grateful to have had that experience, to go through the entire birth with my wife, and to bring out such a beautiful and such a firecracker of a little individual into this world. So that's my motherhood journey.
Beautiful, beautiful. Sean and Undy, you guys want to contribute to your experiences?
Yeah, sure. I'll hop in there. So I have to say my as far as the best thing about being a parent, it kind of changed as my son got older. I think definitely when he was young, the best thing was like I have somebody to go to the water park with. Not saying
So
I
you
don't
had a
have that
friend.
now, but
There you
now it's
go.
kind of weird just me going by myself. Like
So
Not
you
so.
had a
necessarily.
friend.
Yeah, so I guess just when he was younger, I mean, he kept me young. I think that was the greatest part of he really revived that youth inside of me, and that's how I was able to relate to him. Now, as he got older, I would say the teenager years kind of aged me a little bit. And we kind of did the
I hear you.
opposite. Because it didn't get hard. It got hard. Definitely as he got older and started to have his own thoughts about how he wanted things to be for him, and what little or what um, little input he kind of felt he needed for me and that sort of thing. I would say. We had some. I had to adjust, and we both had to, in order to kind of to get through those times. But I would say, kind of overall, now that he's 20, definitely the biggest,
20.
yeah, 20. The best benefit I'd say one is just who he is, how just having a son that's as great as he is, and just a great person overall. I'm wearing this shirt because he is finishing up his sophomore year at Miller House and not.
Represent. Yeah.
So it's just great, now to see who he has become. But, in that process, I would say, I always tell people that parenthood is like, it's a trick, it's, it's a trick because it's meant to pretty much put a mirror on you and
Hmm.
have you to pretty much deal with yourself, because you're going to see all the things that, you need, all your growth areas. You gonna see that pop up in your kid, and you gonna get mad, like, why are you like this? And then you look at yourself like, oh, okay, he just doing whatever. He just doing what he see me do. So,
Right.
Right.
I had to actually address myself. And in order for me to see that, adjustment in him, otherwise, it wasn't going to happen. So I would say, another great part of it was just my own growth and understanding compassion, and just learning to better be a better person for me as well, as for my son.
Wonderful. I love it.
Awesome.
All right. Anybody else want to share?
I
I'll
would
go
like
ahead.
to say, oh, can I get one? I just want to commend Undisputed because I watched Dylan grow up, and the man that he just him as a young boy, his teenagers, I know they was rough, but everything that he endeavored was so amazing. And we have to literally give you kudos for that, because if it wasn't for that influence, if it wasn't for your hand being in his life,
Yeah.
he is an amazing young man.
Yeah.
And so definitely give you applaud for that. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
boss.
Thank you, Fred. And with my son, definitely, we're not related by blood, but I always say we related by love, and
Hmm.
that run deep,
Yeah.
and I've always, that he never known any other parents other than me and his other mom, and I think that us being able to kind of get through, because we separated, but us being able to kind of work through some things to be able to raise and be there for him. It was a big deal when we both showed up to move him in his dorm and to go shopping together to get stuff into his dorm and stuff. We came a long way, but I'm glad we were able to do that for my
Yeah.
son, and he able to see that, that above all, he definitely was a priority, or is a priority as well.
That's great. Somebody else was gonna go next.
Yeah, I was gonna take a shot at it. For me, motherhood. Let's just say when I decided I wanted to be a mother, I was in my late 20s, and I
Okay.
knew back that I wanted to carry my child. I knew because I had been involved with women that had kids, and we know how that goes when you
Hmm.
break up. Unfortunately, sometimes
Mhm.
may or may not be able to be a part of the child's life for a plethora of reasons, but I didn't want that happening to me. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go the route and try to have my child. So in previous relationships, when I tried, it never would work out. For
Hmm.
many different reasons, it just never would work out. It wasn't until when I decided, hey, okay, God, I done tried, you haven't blessed me, it's not in the cards for me. I had pretty much given up in a sense until I got married. When I got married and had that discussion with my wife about wanting to carry a child, just the level of support that I had from her, the energy was so different. I felt so
Hmm.
comfortable with her. So I'm like, okay, now I see. It was not a no, it was a not right now. I wasn't
Oh,
ready
Hmm.
that's
for it.
beautiful.
Yeah. So
That's
when we
awesome.
decided to take our journey, it was a smooth journey because we both were on the same page. We knew what we wanted. We knew the route we wanted to go. And I'll say this: fast forward now, um, my what is it? Pregnancy, my pregnancy journey with it being my first child, being in labor for 58 hours, I think it was 58 or
Oh my
56.
God.
I'm
It
sorry.
That's a
was just
paycheck.
tell me
Ooh.
about it. It was
Jesus.
a roller coaster of a ride. When she was born, we had a little bit of a health scare. When she was born, the umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck. And I was like extremely
Mm.
exhausted. There were many times I had given up during the birthing process. I was just dropping my legs. I was like, cut me at this point, just give me the section. I tap out, But my wife, she kept pushing, she kept, rubbing me and saying, baby, you got it, we can do this. And then came my baby girl, but she wasn't breathing at first, and that was the scare.
Yeah.
Like those maybe 20
Mm.
seconds I mean, it's scared the living
That's
crap
a
out of me.
long time.
Yeah.
It is. It is. And just seeing, all of the personnels come in and attend to her, you was just like taken back. Like, is she going to be okay? It was just a tragic, a scary moment at that time.
Yeah.
But fast forward now, she's 3 years old now. And when Undy said, when you look at your child and you see, oh, where does she get this from? Or where does he get this? I can honestly say that is me. I'm 10. So, I mean, all in all, she's a joy. She's a blessing. I thank God that she's here. I thank God for making me wait. His timing is perfect timing, better than no other. But
Yeah.
he's definitely giving me a run for my money in my late 30s now. You got to pack a lot of patience. You got to pack a lot of patience. You got to pack a lot of patience. But I wouldn't trade my journey of becoming a mother for anything. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That
She
is
is so gorgeous. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
I guess I can kind of piggyback off a lot what you said. I can agree. Even as being like a trans guy, I did started out as a stud. So because I ain't know nothing about transitioning, I was like, but once I heard about it, I was like, that's me. Okay, cool. But before then, I always like dated girls, and my issue that I ran into when it came to it was the girl wasn't ready. I always wanted a child because I have a big family. Like I have 7 sisters. Well, I make 7 out of sisters and brothers, and I think out of 7, only 4 of them having babies. And we counted yesterday what we had 36. If my grandmama, if my mom was alive, she would have been the grandmother of 36 kids, basically.
Wow.
So with me being the baby, I was like, I feel like I have to have a child, but my mom was always hard on me because she was like, you need to get you a man and settle down and have some kids. She was one of those. So, and I was like, you got a child. It was, a girl that I was dating at the time. I helped raise her child from birth. And, at the age of 4, we broke up and she took him away, so I was like, and the next person I met, I was like, I want a child. And she was like, well, you have to wait. We dated 3 years, didn't work out. Next person, same situation. So I was like, I got tired of trying to wait on somebody else's option and opinion of when I want to have a child or we want to have a child. So I decided to just do it on my own situation. And that's why I got him and her. So the waiting game was terrible, but like you said, the timing was good.
Worked out in the end.
Yeah, it definitely worked out in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really enjoy being a seahorse dad. I like every moment of it. It's a teachable moment. Like, it's different. It definitely grows you up and mature you as a person. And like having your own child where nobody can take away from you, it's a good feeling, having your own little DNA running around,
Yeah.
knowing that like it's a high possibility of your bloodline keep going in there. That's something that I always looked forward to. So I think that's the best moment right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're gonna let Keisha go because Keisha, and even though we know that you adopted your children, they're so like you, and like they have so much of you. When I heard your daughter speak, she sounded like you. Please let us know. How did that happen?
Yeah, so so I actually decided to want to have kids in my later 30s with my ex-wife. We had been together, obviously we were married for a while. And so we decided that she wasn't going to be the one to carry because she already had a son. And I was going to be the one to carry, but just like you, Joy, the amount of money and the honestly, the emotional pressure it was to be able to conceive, I just wasn't successful. I had tried, 3 different times. It just didn't happen. Right. So that kind of put a damper on our marriage. Then it came to the point where, she didn't want to have kids. So we kind of went ahead and went our separate ways because I was still going to try. And then going through that process for a year by myself. And again, the emotional stress that I was under, it just at that point for me, I just felt like if it wasn't worth it. If God meant for me to have children, it would have happened. So the long story short, my brother was like my mentor and my hero at the time, my pastor, he brought up fostering. So I decided to foster, some kids or whatnot. My girls that I adopted were actually the first 2 kids that I got. I definitely was dead set against it because I wanted boys. I knew I was a little rough around the edges, never being, a parent or whatnot. I'm a Capricorn, so my bluntness, I was just like, I'm just too rough for a girl, and what I'm gonna do with her hair? Like I don't have to comb my hair, so I don't know nothing about that. But my village, my village was very strong, at the time, so they were very supportive. So even though I had fostered almost 30 kids in between time, but my girls and then my first boy I adopted those 3 by myself. So I adopted my girls in 2020, and then I literally just adopted my son maybe 3-4 years ago in 2021. So
I remember that.
They've been with me for 8 years now. So yeah, that's how I became a mother.
And I'm telling you, when her daughter was speaking on the podcast the other night, she speaks so eloquently.
She does.
And I'm like, you better come through. I was ready to cash app her.
I did.
Just like, I'm telling you, so great job. Great job.
Thank you.
So Keyshawn, give it to us, girl.
So the question, pardon my tardiness, I literally was walking from work. Y'all saw I had to do a wardrobe change real quick. Good evening. Sorry, again, I am Jackie Shaw. So I'm assuming the question was, how did I get into motherhood, or?
Well, similar to that. So yeah, what was your journey like, or what's the best thing or your favorite thing about being a mother?
Okay, so the journey looked like for me, I didn't physically push a child out, but I am the oldest of 9, so I've raised many of children. But I do take claim and have a child. Most of my friends have met my little one, Taylor. She's not so little anymore. She's taller than I am. Have met my munchkin. She's been around the org for quite some time. She's actually grown up. She's 14 now, so she has grown up from about 5 to 14 now. So I met her mother. Well, backstory. I was married years ago, and my ex-wife at the time had a daughter. So I had passion first, and I still maintained and stayed in her life until she got to college, actually. So we still have a relationship. I call her my little squirt. And then I moved. I was still in the military, so I moved to Georgia, and I met my daughter's mother, Red. Well, I call her Red. And we, dated for some years or things of that nature. And, it ended. However, we co-parent phenomenally. We co-parent great. Like we are the ace booms. We understand each other. I got into Taylor's life and she was 4, turning 5, and I've been there ever since. I also have a godson who's 9. He's actually headed to his first sneaker ball.
Oh,
yes. And I'm the Maddie to quite a few children. So yes, kids in orgs. I have 2 little ones that call me Maddie, 9 Kai, and then I have my god baby Abigail. So that's how I got into the title motherhood. Now, one day, according to the book of Mark, Kairos or Kairos, the appointed time, the good Lord is going to send me a Dallas.
Yes.
I have prayed about a Dallas for many, many, many moons. I am a Cowboys fan, so I've always wanted to name Dallas.
Yes.
And it just never occurred. So one day, when my second wife comes, and alignment. I'm huge on alignment.
Right.
Yeah. So when the appointed time comes, and that's when, like Sean said, all right, God, I did this. So when the appointed time comes, little Dallas will come.
Yes,
and
he
I will
will.
send him to all of y'all houses. You get to go. You get to go. Summer, I believe, and let kids go to their aunties and their
Yes,
uncles. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's how
absolutely.
kind of how I got into the parental figure, as I call it.
Gotcha.
So
That's
what about
beautiful.
you, Keisha? Tell us
Oh,
your
okay.
story of
All
So
motherhood.
these Keishas.
I know.
right. Listen, we gonna say Keisha one. Oh, there's a
Right.
baby there. Oh. So my
Beautiful.
journey is a little different
Oh.
from everyone. I never desired to have kids ever. Uh, and there's a lot of reasons, but let's just keep it at that. It just was not my calling. That it's way too much responsibility, a lot of pressure, and it's just a lot.
Mhm.
And I commend you all for having been mothering or parenting for such a long time, or the desire to even want to do that. However, my wife, she has 7 kids. We have her 7 kids. We have my one nephew, and we've had him maybe 2 or 3 years or so. And there's other women that I've dated that had children. So, at some form or fashion, I have parented or co-parented other children. None that I've kept from previous marriages, or
Mhm.
I should say, not marriages, previous relationships. But I do have 4 godchildren as well, and I'm relevant in their lives as well. So whatever way I can help, of course, my wife navigate, the different challenges in parenting. I'm certainly open to do that, but again, it just wasn't. It was just not something that I personally wanted to do. But God saw fit to say, "Okay, nope, you're going to marry this lady who got 7." So now, haha. So
Yeah, because you got so much to release to them, so they needed that structure. They needed that guidance.
maybe, yeah.
Ain't God funny?
Look, hopefully we're doing a good job. We'll see.
Listen,
God is funny. You said none. God said 7.
7, boom. It's like, dang, who
Absolutely,
multiplying?
absolutely. So yeah,
But
that was my journey.
I
Uh,
think a lot of people got to keep in mind everybody, because I've heard people say motherhood should come easy, especially to women, and I'm like, to a point I can agree, and to a
Mhm.
point I could disagree,
mm,
because physically there was no way I was pushing a baby out. I visioned myself with my legs in the air, and it doesn't work well, so I'm not doing
I
that.
mean,
I'm, and
I agree.
I'm always 100% honest. I'm a gold star lesbian. It ain't coming out that way. It ain't going in that
mhm.
way. So therefore, I knew and it wasn't because I was a lesbian. It was physically, it's unattractive, and I can't do it. I won't do it.
Yeah.
And
That's being
so,
honest.
yeah. But I know some people who, like my best friend here, Sean, who can do it. I commend you. 58 hours, I would be selling my child. I would write them out of my will. Like, I wouldn't say nothing to them. Like, it's nothing we could talk about. I don't care. Like,
Yes.
so, but I commend those who can
Yeah.
go through that process.
Mhm.
Everybody's not that strong.
Mhm.
And in my head, I just can't see
Mhm.
me. I'm like,
Yeah.
what my clothes gonna look like? Like, I mean, because I've seen some studs trying to dress in some flower dress and Tim's. It don't work out.
Mhm.
That's be a good that's a good idea to have some stud type clothes.
Maternity
Anyway,
clothes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've never wanted to push out a kid. I've actually always wanted to adopt because I
Hmm.
feel there's so many children in the world that don't get the opportunity to be loved by people like us, or
Yeah.
no offense to the heterosexuals that they have given, or for whatever reason they may could not keep their children, or life happened, and here, great. Well, you have same gender loving couples or individuals that could provide them with this, and it's just like
Hmm.
the hardest thing and pulling teeth to adopt. So
Mm,
I've always wanted to adopt, literally always. So we'll see what the good Lord says.
okay.
That's right.
Hey, come through.
Can I ask
Yeah,
a
I
question
definitely
to
agree
Keisha?
too.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna piggyback after Keyshawn also, because I remember growing up as a little girl, and my other friends that were girls, they, would play, baby doll, and always talk about, I can't wait to have babies and stuff. That never once went through my mind that I wanted to birth a baby. Like, I never, it never, ever.
I agree.
I'm not sure, why or why not, but it just didn't seem like it would, that it was just never a desire for me ever, like growing up or anything like that. And then I saw, my sisters and all my friends like talking about, I can't wait to have a baby and all this. I always, I guess, saw myself having a child in my life, but I never. Even that was kind of like, I mean, honestly, Dylan, I became his parent when he was 6 months, and so, I think like 2 years before that, it popped in my head like once, like, oh, maybe I'll have a kid in my life, but never, I never thought about, going through any procedure, or never tried, thought about ever wanting to get pregnant or anything like that. So, I'm just happy it worked out the way it did, but it's just interesting,
And so I wanted to say something before I ask Keisha, the therapist, a question, because it's the question is based off a conversation that we had not too long ago. Well, you wasn't here, but a conversation I had not too long ago. But going back to what you said, Andy, that whole thought, it just wasn't. Some people are just not meant to be there, and we want all our viewers to know, and that's okay. Everybody is not there. You can love from all kind of different aspects. It doesn't make the love any different. It doesn't change anything, but know your limits, and what you're willing to do in order to bring this situation of motherhood or fatherhood into existence. But so Keisha, the therapist. So one of the conversations we were having today was, so a young lady, she's well, we don't know exactly what she is. I think she decided to be pansexual tonight. So I think we're going to go with pansexual because that was her final decision. So her mom wants her to have a child. She was like, well, I'm okay with adopting, because we know the love is love. And her mom's like, well, I want it from your eggs. I want this and I want that. So with you in that position of adopting, does the love feel different? Is there a different type of love that you provide to an adopted child versus a child that you birth? And I mean, anybody else can piggyback off that, but I want to ask, Keisha, how is that love and that experience with an adopted child?
That's a great question.
Okay, so if I hear you, it is. So if I hear you correctly, you're asking me if loving a child when you adopt, is it different from giving birth to a child? Is the love different? Am I understanding the question correctly?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. So as far as I can speak, obviously, towards the adoption piece, right? Because I haven't given birth to a child. I did go through a phase when I got the proposition from the caseworkers to adopt. I went through that piece of, okay, but I've always wanted a child from my loins, my DNA. I wanted a little mini me walking around, but just like a man, he has, the sperm, obviously the sperm comes from him, but he's not giving birth to that child, so to speak. But will the love be different for them? So that's just how I had looked at it. So as far as loving my kids, being an adoptive parent, I think every adoptive parent goes through that transition of still wanting to have their own, right? But then you learn as being a parent, whether you've given birth to that child or it comes from your seed, the love, the character, the principles, the structure, the discipline, the love that you give, it doesn't matter where the child comes from. You're still going to offer those same core values to that child. So I think it's a transitional period as far as still loving a child that you're adopted. Because if you ask me, I mean, people always think, I think matter of fact, your wife just told, Ren a couple of weeks ago, she totally forgot that I was an adoptive parent. And people forget that like my kids are adopted because I've poured into them so much. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So I really don't, at this point now, as far as me being a parent, I don't think it's any different.
Mm-hmm.
But 8 years ago, it definitely was a difference, right? So that I think it just comes with maturity, it comes with growth, and it comes with experience.
So we can honestly say from your experiences specifically that nature and nurture still had the same love value.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yes.
Okay, I can understand that. Anybody else wanted to like present it from a different perspective?
I like
If
to
you
say
see
something on
them,
this.
oh, go ahead, Sean.
From a biological standpoint and a me having bonus kids, because my wife has 2 kids prior to us getting married, and the difference is I love them just as much as I love the one that I birthed. I love them,
Mhm.
but I feel like when it comes down to discipline, I feel like it's only so far I can take it with discipline when it comes to my bonus
Okay.
kid versus Journey. With Journey, I feel like I birthed her. Like you do something,
Mhm.
baby, we gonna check it. I'm gonna handle it.
Right.
Then with the bonus kids, it's a little bit different. But my love for them is equal. When Journey eats or when Journey wants something, she gets it the same way as the
Okay,
older.
I'm back.
Sometimes the older kids, they'll want something, and it's like Coco will say no, but I'm kind of like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? They gonna go ahead and have it because if Journey have it, they have it. So on that end, they're equal. The only little hardship I have is the discipline because I feel like I can't take it but only so far when it comes down to them. And then Journey is able to just barge right on in the bathroom when I'm in there, and it's
Mhm. They have no respect.
no, they don't. But the older kids, I've gotten to the point now. It's been 6 years. I
None.
can walk around in sports bra, boxers in front of them. We're comfortable. But now them coming in the bathroom and barging in like Journey do, then no, I'll be like, wait, hold on, wait a minute. But I love them, all 3 of them equally. I do.
So, real quick, those younger kids, they have no respect to boundaries
None.
and they don't care. And they come in, ooh, hair. Okay, first of all, go ask your mama.
Right.
But, like we're getting those questions already. So, that would be something we could segue. But I'm glad you pulled that one up. I wanted that question. So, Malachi, you had a question. We
So
can't
it
hear you.
says, will you allow your children to call you mom? And I hope this is not offensive. If so, I apologize. Keisha, what was that you made yesterday? These two for the ones for me, and then when you adopted the girls.
Well, I would say no. Only because, like, even like my son, he right here. Say hey.
Okay.
Even though he right
Hey, what's
here,
up,
So
son?
cute.
he already know, like, he already know who. He know I gave birth to him and stuff. But he called me dad. He called me dad. And
Okay.
okay, that's enough. Go play with Tablet. And I feel like it'll be kind of weird. You be out in public and he be calling me that, and everybody be like, you confusing that child. That's another thing. Yeah, like, anyways, that's a whole nother story.
Hmm.
And plus my fiance, she's a trans woman. He called her mom. So he have a mom, and then like he do like the
Mhm.
person. I just call him the donor. Anyways, he just called him other dad. So
Okay.
he just called us what we look like basically to the public eye. But no, I wouldn't allow him to even think about calling me that. From
Yeah.
birth, I told him what was up, and he understand. Just like he seen me go through the process with his baby sister, he still know. So it's good to just teach them ahead before society try to get a hold of them and try to teach
Right.
them their way. You let him, I let him know, like, hey, I gave birth to you. You came out of this. We shower together and everything. He knows. So yeah.
That's
I can
great.
understand that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you giving your perspective on that because I'm sure the world will have us to think that we are
Yeah.
bad parents. We can't do this right, we can't do that right, but and they don't even know maybe even how to navigate those kind of conversations. So we certainly appreciate your perspective, Malachi.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Jay Keyshawn, did you want to say something?
Oh, well, it's back to earlier. I'm a firm believer if you feed kids long enough, they start to act like you
Like you.
and look like you. So,
Right.
I mean, they really do. Just, I mean, it is what it is. So I'm the disciplinary person within in the co-parenting dynamics, right? So when Taylor does something, Red be like, your child did this, which I'm pretty sure most moms or the other one does that. I don't know why.
Yep.
It's
Your
fine.
kid. Your
Absolutely.
baby.
It's fine. I'm old school. Yes, I tag. Come here. So even into this age of now, I'm not a gentle parenter. I'm still old school in that aspect, but I have gentle ways. But I'm the disciplinary. So I said that to say I've fed Taylor long enough. She has gained some of my ways. She has some of her mother's ways, obviously, and then she still has her biological father in her life too. So she has a village, and she has aunts and uncles and cousins and things of that nature. But sometimes I can see little things that she'll do. I'm like, you acting like your mama today. You acting like your mama, and then I can see something, or she'll respond in a manner, and I'd be like, oh, she sounds like me. Because when she was younger, like we were inseparable. She, y'all know I'm D9, so she wanted to be it and learn about it, and she wanted to drive a Kia like I did, and all types of stuff. So I fed her long enough. She did get some of my ways. Now, as she gets older, they don't act like none of us. I don't know what happened
Mm-mm.
in this teen phase, but they don't act like the where they come from. It's kind of like they
Mm-mm.
I won't say latch, but they get to this point where they I don't know. I'd be like, who raised you?
Right.
Like that's not what.
The
But then
jury.
overall, she is a good kid. I talked to her earlier. She was out of school today, so she FaceTime me while she cooked the whole meal, and then we just sit. And I'm like, all right, Taylor, I gotta hop on a conference call. Well, you want to see what my food looks like? And yes, Taylor. Okay. But I enjoy those moments because they're gonna get to these phases that they're
They don't
17.
want to be bothered.
They don't
Yeah.
want to be bothered. She kind of gets
Not
that
at all.
sometimes, but I enjoy the funny calls or the did you know or can you DoorDash me this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
I,
ATMs.
yes, I
Cash
am definitely
apps.
an ATM to that one. When she was younger, she wanted me to move beside her. So
That's a good question that came up.
Yeah.
So this is to Keisha, the therapist. Keisha, what made you sure the girl were yours or for you? Oh, I think she's kind of frozen.
Yeah. It looks like.
So while we waiting for her internet to kick in, so
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up a statement. The statement that I heard was a lot of people say the healthier kids come from two-parent household. That's how heterosexuals think about it, or having a father present. But this lady therapist came in and she said it is proven that strong, healthy, well-rounded children are produced because their mother is mentally and emotionally healthy.
Mm.
And so that's because a lot of people are like, well, I had two parents, and I'm like, you still messed up. But when your mother who's giving you that attention and that love as you need is emotionally healthy and mentally healthy, they produce the most well-rounded children. And now, well, we're not even going to just say well mothers, but the main care provider. They can produce the most well-rounded and healthier children in society. But so Keisha, the therapist, you back?
yeah, she winked. So
Yeah. She's
Yeah,
back.
I
So,
saw him.
Key,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
what made you
I
sure
was
that the
breaking up.
girls
Y'all
were
asked me a
yours or
question.
they
I'm
were for
sorry.
you?
yeah.
What made you sure that the girls were yours or that they were for you?
She got this slow mo thing going
I
on.
know, and it's so cute though. She go
But
like this in
cool
the
with it though. She
sunset.
cool with it
Oh, she
though.
cool with it.
Keish.
I
Keish.
love it.
That's a whole model shoot right now.
Who does
Oh, she
that?
posing right there.
Right.
You there, Keish?
Hold on, y'all just came back in. What happened?
Oh, you
You
did
over
a
here
whole
taking
I'm
my
trying to ask you
kids.
a question, GQ.
You was VQ in that slow mo.
There you are.
All right, what was the question?
Right.
The question was, what made you sure that the girls were yours or that they were for you?
So
I
just
prayed
so
about
if
it, honestly.
okay.
I was definitely nervous and intimidated. Oh, so I just prayed about it. I was definitely nervous and intimidated by adopting two girls. Being a single parent, that was always my fear, is being a single
Mhm.
parent. You know what I mean? But I prayed about it, and one day, over the pulpit, the pastor prophesied to me. I'm not sure what y'all religious beliefs are, but prophesied to me and told me that I was supposed to adopt those girls and to stop staying up at night, questioning and lamenting about if I should adopt, because I was afraid of being a good parent. I didn't want to damage my kids. But when he had spoke those words, I just went ahead and went with the adoption.
That's profound, yeah.
Oh my God, that's a good point. So why would you feel that you would damage your kids?
So I think it was basically, honestly, because of my upbringing. I grew up in a very emotionally and physically abusive home. And so I think I waited so late in life to have kids because I wanted to make sure that I was emotionally intelligent enough to I'm a therapist. I think I've always had that gift in me since a little kid. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I've always every conversation, I'm always about the emotions. Let's take it deeper. Let's find the root of the problem. That's me. If you know me, then you always know, if you're close to me or whatnot, I'm always going to take it deeper than what the surface level shows. So I was damaged, even before I got married, I was damaged. Went through therapy, counseling with, just a regular therapist, my pastors and whatnot. I just wanted to make sure that I was ready. I didn't want to do to my kids what was done to me.
Mm.
Hmm.
I get that.
Good point.
You
That's real
yeah,
talk.
that's a good point because hurt people.
Yeah.
And a lot of us that's out here has
Correct.
mother issues and father
I
issues, whether it's through
sure do.
abandonment, emotional things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And that helps shape the decisions that you make. Like when me and my father, before we had a relationship, I didn't want to
Yeah.
be in parenthood because it was like he disappeared, I'm gonna disappear. With
Mm.
my mother, she was emotionally controlling and a lot of other stuff. So I made
Mm-hmm.
up in my mind I did not want to impose that in my relationship with my children. 100,000%. So I definitely get exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
I think part of
Yeah.
it too is, how we naturally know the parents. Sometimes it's just how we've experienced our parent.
Hmm.
And I think subconsciously we can go into, the ways to talk to our kids the same way that our parents talk to us, just because that's how we understand it. But I think what I realized with Dylan, some of it was generational. Even started before her mother, as to things that I needed to change about how I was dealing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I'm gonna say this is, I think just in our culture and in our family, we expect a lot of our kids, and it's like, if you don't kind of meet this certain, do certain things, or you're become rebellious or so.
Hmm.
I remember in my family, you get a lot of threats. Okay, if you don't do this, then you're gonna be out the house. Or you don't do this, then I'm not gonna do all. And what I found with my son is the threats just were more harmful, because where he was in a good position to, school and things like that. But he was being a teenager, putting threats on him about, if you don't do this and that. It just made him do worse in school, made him do worse in, things, because he, it kind of affects his overall mentality. So, I had to, even though I know that's kind of how, I was raised, just under fear, if you don't do this, then this, I had to shift shift how I handled him, and not put I just say, especially him as he got older, I said, well, you can do it that way, but this can happen, and I've seen it happen. It's really up to you, you know what I mean? Instead of putting out threats, but also, being strict when I needed to, but if the more stricter I needed to be, the more loving I had to be at the same time, So, it's really a process for me of just breaking down those generational kind of subconscious ways to respond when I felt like he wasn't doing the things he needed to do and that sort of thing, but more looking at long term, if I do respond like this, what's going to be the best outcome? What's going to be the best response to get the best outcome? And for me, it was always leading with love, making sure he understands the consequences of his actions, but not threatening him, or definitely not putting a lot of negative energy on him, calling him names or things like that. Or, I always say kids become what you tell them they are. So if you run around calling your kids bad, guess what? You about to have a bad kid because
you're speaking it.
They become what you tell them they are, So, I definitely can relate to, just kind of as a parent, like I said, it forces you to grow up, and you have to look at how are you responding to things, and you go, you be like, do I sound like my mom? Is that my dad?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right.
So, definitely.
Sometimes some of these kids do need that to come out, but you really do have to cater your conversation based off of that child. And I feel that's a lot. And some of the people that I've spoken with, that's things that we didn't have. They didn't cater their relationship towards us. It was a blanket relationship, especially if they had multiple kids. But then it's like now as we're maturing and we're finding out, okay, that wasn't healthy. That wasn't good. Look what it did to me, and you want to make sure you don't impose that on your own child. But in the same sense, you have to be careful because an unhealed version will take that and overdo it. Then that means you're buying your kid too much because you didn't have enough. You're not correcting them. Yeah, you're not correcting them because you was corrected too much. No, I'm still gonna correct you. I'm going to buy you everything you want because I can afford it and I want to, and you deserve it when you do certain things, not because I didn't have. You're not going to benefit off of the stripes on my back, So we have to find that balance. And I know for Sean, the boss, and myself, we was getting tag teamed on the other podcast, when they was talking about how we let our girls run over us. So what? Let them run. I'm 45.
Abby don't run over nobody.
Listen, she run over me. I'm 45. I'm not running after her. Give her what she wants. I don't want to hear her crying.
Yeah. So here's a question for the panel. Has anyone or anyone that has older children felt betrayed by their children at some point, and how do you or did you handle that?
Oh my God, that's really
I'll tell you. Let me tell you what this little 14-year-old mind did.
Give it to her.
She had the audacity. She had the audacity. She didn't buy me anything for my birthday, and but gonna buy some little redhead, sticky head, nappy head boy something, and then gonna add the unmitigated gall to ask me to get her nails done a week after. So she thought I wasn't gonna find out. So her mama called me and told me, and I said, "How dare you?"
The audacity. It's the audacity.
The audacity. You bought some little boy some, and you about me. I was through talking to her for a few days. And I said, well, when you're ready to talk and apologize, then we'll. And then the next week, it was my weekend and a half. And I called her out again. I said, how you going to buy some little boy something? Well, it wasn't. Well, we broke up. We don't. You weren't supposed to be dating him in the first place. Who told you
That's
that?
the
Did you
that's
give
the
me
part.
permission?
You weren't supposed
Nope.
to be dating them.
You ain't supposed to be calling yourself dating nobody anyway. Well, that's what I thought. Me and your mama already talked about it because therefore ain't no dating going on right now. You need to be focused on school and why you didn't buy me a gift for my birthday at that time, but you bought this little
That
boy
part.
something. Now he ain't got nappy head, but all of them nappy head to me if you ain't you trying to talk.
Talk to your baby.
They all know. Yeah,
They all.
I,
Absolutely. Well, great question. So, anyone have any kids older than 14 that may have betrayed them or just totally did something foul, or and
I,
how'd
kn-
you handle it?
I know real quick. With my blended family, I've
Okay.
had those experiences, and before I became mature enough, I would just stop talking to them because I don't have to.
I appreciate your honesty.
I can see
Yeah,
that.
I
Yeah.
didn't have to. You didn't
Okay.
live in my house. I don't have to talk to you, and you don't have to come over when that level of disrespect was there.
Gotcha.
Now, but I do have I call him my godson, but I've had him since he was 6 months.
Okay.
And we had a issue, and he was upset. He was upset about he had locks, and he couldn't put his cap over his locks. So I paid to get his hair retwisted. But in Florida, they wear the big dookie ones.
The
No,
wicks.
sir, you can't. Yeah, the wigs. No, his was dookie. They wasn't even wigs. And so I had his hair done, and he didn't like the way it was done. So he was mad because she put it back so his cap can fit over his head. And I came home one day, and he was on the phone with his mother, who didn't even give three F's for you, talking about I made him braid his hair back, pretty much just dogging me out on the phone. So what I did was I got him a one-way ticket. This was like a couple of days, this was a couple of about 2 weeks before graduation. I got him a one-way ticket back to Jacksonville. I packed up everything he had, and I sent them with his mama
Mm,
because I came, because like I told him, I came and got you from a bad situation to where she had you sleeping outside, literally. I'm sending you money to feed you, all of this stuff. And then you got mad because of a hairstyle. And it was more for what else he was saying.
mm.
So we stopped talking. So after I showed up to his graduation, I still supported him. But after that, I didn't have no more conversation for him. And it took a couple of months, and he reached out and he apologized because I know that I instilled in him enough to where, all right, the good that I put in you is going to come back.
Yeah.
So, but you need to learn because you're smelling yourself
Yeah.
where you need to smell yourself at.
Mhm.
And he was like, even when I was coming back to Baltimore, he was like, I'm not going with you. Absolutely not. You called your mom and you said you would rather come home. So I got you that one-way ticket a couple of weeks ago, and you're staying here. And it, like I said, that was our first ever clash. But when he called me, he said, I understand what you were saying and why you did what you did.
Mm.
And that was the best feeling because I'm like, am I being too mean? I don't want him to be mad. But then I was like, it was like Holiday Hearts. Remember when he caught this little girl in there? He was like, what? Hold on, wait. Why am I apologizing to you when I know I did what I was supposed to do? So yeah, you go through that in on different levels, and
Yeah.
especially if you have bonus kids, their disrespect is different. You really be wanting to choke the hell out of them, but you can't. Well, you
Right.
can, but you got to take that whatever comes with it.
So I want to respond to that same question that Ren sent. Um, so as I mentioned, my wife has 7 kids, right? And we just recently, or a few years ago, got my nephew. One of the older kids and I were in a situation where we were constantly going, bumping heads, just going back and forth. And for me, it felt like it was coming from a place of just lack of respect and lack of accountability. And they were causing so much havoc and so much turmoil, going on in the house that it disrupted everybody's mood and attitude, even the relationships or the dynamics between myself and my wife. So long story short, young lady moves out or does, whatever it is she wanted to do at that time. And it ended up coming back that, she of course was wrong, but the things that she was doing even after she left our home, right? And some of those things, my wife did not even share with me, right? So my wife is, caught in the middle. She's trying to, talk to her kid and manage it from that perspective, as well as trying to, mend the relationship or the brokenness that this person was causing within, our family.
Right.
And it was a lot, so she's doing her thing and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and she's trying to still protect me from all the negative things that this person was doing. She ended up having to come back and swallow that frog and apologize and try to mend things or fix that situation. So how did it make me feel? It made me feel conflicted in a lot of ways, and it made me question whether or not I was too firm or too matter of fact in how I handled her, right?
Right.
But I guess looking back or hindsight now, it's better that we handle things the way we did. The only thing I think we should have done different and we're working on now or getting better at is my wife and I are learning that situations like that, when they happen, it's you and I against that problem and not that problem against us, right? So we
That's
have to
good.
approach it different.
Right.
That's
But that was
good.
just, again, that was lesson learned, and those kind of things, like you said, will happen, Jay. Especially with bonus kids, when they know you ain't my mama, you ain't my daddy,
Boy.
and look, sometimes they'll tell you that you ain't my mama, you ain't my daddy.
Yeah.
Well, you're absolutely right, but
Yeah.
then
That's
here,
fighting words.
choosing. I'm gonna say that again. I'm choosing
choosing.
to be here,
That's
Choosing.
fast.
and with that comes a level of respect. Period.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's big. The
Yeah.
way that because I don't think they understand. I think some of them, when you said I'm choosing to be there,
Right.
because a lot of them feel, well, you with my mama, so it's an automatic. No, boo boo, it's not. It's not
Yeah.
an automatic.
Yeah.
I don't have to.
Mm-mm.
And when they realize that, it's sometimes it's a little late, but it's like they really do need to realize, like, I really don't have to. And if it comes to sacrificing that relationship, that might be the sacrificial lamb in that moment.
Yeah.
But we also got to keep in mind that in those relationships, especially the parent of those children has to put things in perspective, because if they don't set the correct ground rules, or, well, you don't talk to my baby like that, well, you and your baby can leave.
Facts.
It hasn't gotten to that point, but I do understand what you're saying, and I can
Right.
feel that, right? But there's people out there that are listening to this podcast or follow our platform who have experienced that.
To
Right.
that point, though, I think in our dynamics or our society where we are, as being masculine identified women, or being a trans man, or being the more dominant one, or disciplinary, whichever term you care to use, sometimes that does become an issue. And then again, I'll be very honest, I've always wanted kids. I just didn't want to date somebody that had kids for that reason, because sometimes the the standard, or the lack thereof a standard, has not been set. And here I come
Okay.
in with a set of standards. So therefore, I try not to all the way push, but again, I am military. I do like a drill sergeant sometimes. And again, I'm the oldest of, so my siblings to this day, they're all grown. When I tell them to do something, they just do it. So when
They just do it.
it is what it is. Or when I speak with authority. I'm kind. I'm very gentle now. I'm nurturing. However, when I speak, I say what I said, and I hate to repeat myself. But
Yeah.
Exactly.
sometimes when you're in a dynamic where the children got to a certain age, or if they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, under 10-ish, they've already, and depending on how many partners the mom or the dad had prior to you,
Yeah.
they have gotten used to a certain dynamic, or they have 3 different ways that they've had to learn how to operate with a new person. Sometimes they be like, oh, okay, well, you might not even be here long enough. Why should I respect you? Or you ain't my mama, you ain't my daddy, you ain't my bonus mom, you ain't whatever case may be.
Yeah.
Or the mom or the dad may say, you can't discipline my child. I'm the only one that does it. To me, when you date somebody that has kids, or if you're the parent with the kids, sit down and have a conversation, because I'm a person that I wait a certain time before my child gets to see you, period.
Right.
Mhm.
She won't know about, she may hear me talking to you, but she
Right.
will not meet you in person until I feel we are like, okay, cool. I'm gonna make this person my girlfriend, or make this person
Mm-hmm.
my boo thing. You can't just be my Judy. You just can't be my little whatever, because my child would never know
Your
nothing
little
about
wall.
none of that. But when I decide to bring her and say, hey, this is who I'm pursuing, this, that, and other. Hey, you're gonna hear a name. Hey, this, that, and other. I already create a boundary and a dynamic, then letting them know, hey, another adult is now coming into the picture. You will address them as Miss, or if it, I don't think guys, obviously. If it was a guy, it would be a Mr. And that's what you would call them, this, that, and other. But it also allows the child to know that, hey, this is an adult that I will respect. And if I have a grievance or something goes wrong, I'm at that space where I can tell my parental figure, or we can sit down and conversation. I will
Yeah.
say that is one thing with my ex we did with Taylor. Taylor, this happened. So tell me how you feel about this or that. And she will open up and say, or whatever. But I've had a problem with when you're the new person going in, and the existing person say, oh, you can't whip my children, or this and another. If I cannot provide children discipline and structure or
Mhm.
infrastructure, then I cannot provide me. And that I'm a prime
Exactly.
mover of that, period.
I
That's a
love
good
that.
point.
Yeah.
I'm not going to provide my resources. And if I can't provide, to me, that's a resource too. That is
That
a
Yes,
part.
it
skill
is.
and an asset that I can be to your household. But whether you're a kid, a small kid, or an adult, that those are a little different. But if you're a small child and I am coming in, I'm not going to be forceful. I'm going to let you see me a little, this, that, and other, learn how I operate. But I'm a person. What did your mama say? Did you ask your mama? Did you have this conversation? Are you sure you're supposed to be doing that? Because kids will try to play you between the night. Now, this I
Oh,
know
yeah.
Mm.
We get played often. Yep, you're
all
right.
the time. But I am a firm believer is that if I can't tell your child what to do, or discipline your child, or I can't tell them no, then why am I there? That means
Right.
I'm there for show or something, I guess. Because I'm
Got
gonna
it.
bring your child and treat them the same way I treat mine. It ain't no different to me. They all get it.
Right.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm an old
Especially
school
like you
Sunday school
saying,
teacher.
yeah.
People used to send their kids to me for discipline. And again, I didn't beat children. I don't want y'all to think that I didn't beat nobody's children, but I'm firm and I'm stern. So if I provide that, that ain't just my great asset. I'm gonna take care of your kids. I'm gonna make sure
Mm-hmm.
they got this. My godbaby getting her passport because she has a village.
Mhm.
Listen, a
I'm
whole
just saying, if
passport.
I'm a part of your life, I'm going to make sure that there's teachings and blessings, that you know the word or whatever religion capacity that your parents teach you. I'm standing with them. Like I'm
Right.
Yeah.
gonna be an extension of them, pretty much.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's a good point.
yeah.
Andy, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Malachi.
Oh, I was just gonna ask a question. So, okay, so I was always wondering if I'm in the wrong for this situation. So my son, I just say donor because he really not in his life like that. He only just picks him up to take him to go to his grandmother house, but he lives the guy. We just let me see, trying to give him a nickname. Well, he lived there with his mother. So when he do pick him up to go over there to see his grandmother, he be around, but he don't be around his own child. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So I was trying to see, was I wrong for telling him like if Mikhail do something wrong, let me know. I don't want him to discipline him because you're
Mm.
not even in his life. So am I wrong for saying
That's a
that?
good question.
Because he only like see him what once a month. He don't call, he don't text, he don't send money, he don't know nothing.
Oh no,
So
mm-mm. And
He's a
no,
drop off parental
no,
instead of an active member.
yeah. And
right.
I think at some point everybody can give a perspective in that. I would honestly say no, because you haven't earned that right to
Right. So
Exactly. Yeah.
structure him or to discipline him when you haven't protected him on any other way. And how do I
mhm.
know? I don't know your level of anger, because if you can't take care of something you produce, and you're is it because of me you're mad? I don't even trust you around my kid anyway.
Right, right. Because his mom wants the new baby over there, and I was like, no, because he over there, and
No, we can
I
meet at
don't trust
McDonald's,
it.
boo.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that's a interesting kind of it's an interesting thing to think about because I guess in the situation with me and my son, I mean, he had a whole nother family with his other moms, which they disciplined him differently than I disciplined. And
Mm-hmm.
I think in the beginning, I had a very big problem with certain ways that he was being disciplined. And, nothing was abusive or anything like that, but it wasn't, I didn't feel like it was, the best way to do it. But I had to kind of pay attention to, what mattered the most. And that was my son, how my son was responding to
Yep.
his other mothers and her, and how she disciplined and as much as I was like, no, I had to kind of say, he does have two parents and he's going to be pieces of me, pieces of her, pieces of everybody else that comes in his life. And I'm not going to be able to control every single aspect of that. I can control the aspect that I, have control over because, you could tell, as far as like tell him not to discipline him, you got to look at how now your son's going to now react to that, because, he's going to go over there and then see he's the father that's not disciplined, you know what I mean? So, and what's could come out of that, what's a potential impact of him viewing that? And I see your point of view, but it's important to see your son's point of view as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Andy.
That is. I
Well,
see.
well, real quick, definitely understanding your perspective from that. But I feel if Malachi is training his son to understand that is your father, you're going to have respect and make sure that you're correcting the situation in the appropriate way, then making sure that his donor father is understanding, like, I'm going to make sure he respects you. I'm going to make sure that you're still viewed as his father in his eyes. But you have to understand, until you build that relationship with him, I don't want him to feel abused. I want him to feel supported, and that you're doing it for his protection or
True.
for his rearing, not because you're frustrated and you don't know how to
Right.
handle a 3-year-old.
That part.
Mm,
Mhm.
also a good point.
Yeah.
Yes.
That.
So
Good.
if he tells you and then you correct your son in front of him, that's something totally different. I'm supporting you, but I need you to position yourself to where you want to be in this position. Then this is what it's going to take. Because because at the end of the day, when our children give us verbal cues and nonverbal cues of their comfortability, we need to take honor to that. If my
Mhm.
baby don't want you to hug them,
Right.
they're not, you don't know. You're
Yeah.
not, I want them to feel, because I feel that children are more spiritually open than adults. So we have to be cognizant of how they're responding. And if they don't feel good about a situation, boo, you ain't got to go.
Mhm.
Absolutely not. Because I'm not going to force that on you, because as a
That's true.
child, I remember being forced
Mm,
to have to be around somebody, to be at somebody's house when I'm telling you how mean they are and what they're doing. And even though they was family and they had the right to discipline, they was beating the hell out of me because I was darker than the other kids,
And you ain't even dog.
Mm.
yeah.
which is a whole nother part of motherhood, because that's why I wanted a light-skinned child. I suffered with colorism.
Mm.
I
Mm,
was told how black I was. Black was ugly. You look like your daddy. I mean, I went through it. So in my head, light skin was pretty.
Mhm.
So I only dated light skin. I
Mm.
tried to date a dark skinned person and I couldn't, because in
Mm.
my head, I couldn't do it. So when I seen my child in my head and in my vision, she was light bright, damn near white. Because to me, that was pretty.
Wow.
Because that's how would have been ingrained in you.
Exactly.
yeah.
And that
I
came from
agree.
my mom's mom, my grandma.
Mm.
Wow.
I like me a chocolate. Dark.
Okay, I'm
I do want a brown baby.
I love it. I love
I
it.
hate our colors, honey.
But
love a brown baby,
I
though.
understand, depending on how you phrase. I mean, we all have things,
Yeah.
especially I think in the Black community, there is a lot of colorism, and that's
It is.
ingrained
Yeah.
a lot of the community, and so it's something that I think I'm glad. I feel like we're paying more attention to these days, because we all. It really doesn't matter, but it does because society makes it where it matters. So, but yeah, I know we've talked about that before, but I definitely, I think Abigail's a beautiful child, and I remember
Yes,
when
she is.
first
thank
told
you.
me.
I picked that one out. Yeah, that's a designer baby right there.
But I
That's
did
that
want to
designer
circle back.
baby.
Go ahead, Andy.
I did want to circle back to something we were talking about, and that's wanting to be somewhere that but your parents saying you need to be over here or with me or that sort of thing. So,
Mhm.
and one of the things that happened with me and Dylan, it was always a fight with doing the dishes, right? So I think one time I had asked him to do the dishes. And he said, "Oh well, I'm gonna go live with my other mom because it's not, what I mean? Because so it's like, because I'm more of a disciplinarian when it comes to things than she would. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, that's what you gonna go do?
You got options.
Yeah.
And I remember I kind of felt a little betrayed. Like I've been taking care of you all this time. Like you go.
Well, he didn't think he was gonna do dishes over there though.
Right. So like it only took him I think 4 or 5 days. He was right back.
He was like, "No, I'm going home."
But yeah. So I think when it comes to again, as far as parenting and should the other parent be parenting, disciplining and that sort of thing. When you have a parent that isn't as much as a disciplinarian. You may have it where the kid will be like, well, it's funner over there. Let me go over there, So, and you definitely don't want that because that means they may not be getting the structure that they need. So it is kind of a balance, when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think everybody has to have that balance because, and I want, now that we had Keisha, the therapist, back, I do want her to answer the question as well if she could. But I know with the balance, my wife disciplines my daughter. They yell at each other. They fight all day, back and forth. But when I say something, my wife is like, okay, you don't have, no, because you don't raise me up. Now, you want me to correct it or you don't? Because if not, you're telling me, oh, well, you're not getting that together. You too soft. You're doing this. But then when I say something, you want to come in and stand like you the linebacker.
Right.
You know I'm finna get into that tail. And when I say sit down, don't move.
Not
Right.
linebacker.
So yeah. So Keisha, the therapist, I gotta remember what the question was. When you feel it was like when you feel disrespected by a child or betrayed by a child, how do you handle that? I'm gonna need her to get an Apple phone. This Android thing is not working for me. Our relationship
You're on
is being
mute.
threatened right now.
You on mute.
She going off on me. That's why she on mute.
Oh,
I do have an Apple phone, thank you.
Oh,
I'm gonna
okay,
keep the rest
right,
to myself. I'll tell you later. Yeah, but how do I handle it if a child betrays me? I'm a processor.
Betrayed or disrespects. Yeah.
So I've been in that situation. Yeah, so I process. Again, I try to lead my kids with being emotionally intelligent. So not only that, do they need to process their own feelings? When I process, I shut down. I used to give them the silent treatment, but I also feel like that's a form of instilling fear and control in kids. So I may answer them, Mom, how's your day? Good. You know what I mean? It's short, sweet, to the point. I'm answering your question. I may not be responding the way that you want me to respond, but I'm not going to shut down to the point where I'm going to close you out. You know what I mean? Yes, people make mistakes, but I still have a right as a human being, as your mother, you know, as a woman, whatever title it is, to be able to process the best way that I know how. So I usually just shut down, and I process my own emotions. And then I'll take it back to the kid, like, okay, listen, we need to have a conversation, because this is when you did X, Y, and Z, or you said or behave, whatever the disrespect or betrayal was, this is how it made me feel. You know, if it's a trigger from childhood, I'll let them know that as well. You know, again, adopting kids from the foster system, knowing what my children have been through, I know for the both of us, it's a lot of, we're living in survival mode the majority of the time, right? And that works well for us because it's not just me living in survival mode. My kids are living in survival mode. But I'm doing the best that I can to try to break those barriers so they don't grow up, like I said, they grow up the same way that I did, guarded and not willing to trust, not willing to let anybody in. I mean, again, I'm still growing, I'm still learning. You fucked me over one time, I don't care. It's a wrap for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because what it takes for me to let you in and for you to get there, child or no child, that's a big step for me. So to reel it back in, I process, and then I process it with that child and let them know exactly what they did, how it hurt me, and then how can we move forward? You know what I mean? So it doesn't happen again. And you know, my kids, like, I have a diary because I know I'm real sharp with my tongue. So I have a diary that, you know, it's like a mother-daughter diary. It's what it says on the front cover. It's like just a bunch of free space. I write it down and let them know what they did, and I give it to them and let them read it, let them reflect, and then they give it back to me. When we're able to actually talk and have a mature, not say adult, but when I'm able to handle it like a mature adult, then we have that conversation. But I'm real slow to processing and like coming around to like, okay, let's talk. You know, kids, they be over it the next 5 minutes. No, I need about 2 months. Just chill out for a second. You know what I'm saying?
2 months.
So, but that's how
that's
I
a whole summer break. 2 months.
2 months.
Jesus Christ.
I'm exaggerating, but I mean, it may be a couple weeks. It may be, and depending on what it is. Right. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I still feed you. You know what I mean? I still cook for you. You know what I'm saying? I still got a roof over your head. I still make sure I provide. But that, man, you go ahead and hang that up.
You know what? I'm glad you forgave me.
But to me, those are real life consequences.
It is.
Like, you said what?
I'm glad you forgave me in a week, because that was a rough little.
You said what?
You forgave me in a week. It ain't take you 2 months.
Like I said, it takes me a minute to process. I have to look at everything from your perspective, make me feel. And I'm not always on the best tip or the end when it comes to my emotions. So that takes me a minute to process. It's different for me helping you process through your feelings and you getting to your point, getting to your destiny. But me getting to mine, helping myself, that's not always easy for me.
Well, you know, coaches need coaches, so you can definitely sign up on my list. Go ahead.
Yeah. I want to say this point, and I want to just make sure that everyone agrees. It sounds like what I'm hearing from everybody is based on our experiences as we were growing up and how we were parented, you know, throughout that journey, how we choose to parent or show up to the ones that we're responsible for and accountable for now is based off of things that we learned what not to do. And of course, things that maybe we wanted or we lacked, there was a deficit, then we encourage or we try to pour those things into our seeds or into our loved ones. Is that what I'm getting?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. I would agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of the things, though, you know, when you talk about what not to do, I always had to balance not re-traumatizing the child with my things that, you know, like with the lessons that I learned and all the things I went through, you know what I mean? And some stuff I definitely saw as, you know, important. But some stuff I was like, if I tell him this, you know, it would be me thinking that I'm trying to help him for his future. But am I going to re-traumatize, traumatize him by saying, you know, to look out for this, or that sort of thing. So I think that's one of the things that I kind of had to balance when it came to him.
Gotcha.
I think the only promise we can make our children is to give them the best life that they don't have to recover from. That's the only promise I can
Mhm.
make you,
That's good.
because I know Coco just put in as one of the things, like even with your first child, you're learning as you go. And it doesn't matter the age. You know,
Yeah.
this is my first child. So I'm learning as I go, because I came in with a whole preconceived notion of how I was going to raise her, what type of life she was going to have, this. And it's totally different, because she gets me weak in my knees. That's it. I love her that much. And I'm willing to, and I accept that. That doesn't mean I don't correct her. That doesn't mean I don't address what needs to be addressed. But again, all the promises I can make is that I'm going to love you enough that you don't get a life that you have to recover from. You don't have to set those boundaries with me, because I'm going to help you set those boundaries. I'm going to hear you from a young age. Your no, your yes, explain it to me. Well, why do you say this? So we're going to have those conversations. We're going to have those experiences together, to where you're not in a couple of years on whatever social media platform going to be there talking about me. You don't wrote a book, because then I'm be real mad.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
I think as long as we continue to learn from those you come around, or those you've
I
been
think to
around, and
piggyback off of that,
learn from those you come around.
That gives Android. That's giving real Androidish right now. Why is you acting like our frat trip with her phone? Don't do that.
Oh man, that was funny. But what I was about to say is, I think as long as we continue to um, take as parenting, or the being a parental figure, as teaching moments, you can never get it all right. We don't always get it wrong. And there is no guide to it. There's experiences, there's processes, and it is a journey. Whether you come into the life of a kid that you pushed, or you actually pushed one out, or you became the step parent, or you adopted, or something happened to a family member. Now you have to take on a child. However you became that part, just never stop wanting to learn that
Mm-hmm.
individual, or learn
Yeah.
parental techniques, I would call it. Because I'm just telling you, when Dallas comes, I'm gonna
You're
need a
gonna be
whole
weak. You're
I'm gonna
gonna
be
be
the
a
whole
different
first
person.
week. I just need the first week. I have the youngs on speed dial. I already know where they live, their address already. Their name gonna be on stuff, because I'm gonna need it.
I,
That's all I'm saying.
Jay, Keyshawn, I just want to add to that. What I think is also important that I hope people can walk away with from after watching this show is that just as much as we want to correct the things that were maybe wrong as we were, coming up, we're also have to be mindful that we're teaching the kids how to parent as well, which is just as important, right? We want to
Mm-hmm.
be mindful of what we put out into the world. And in doing that, we got to think at some point these seeds are going to want to be parents. How will they parent? Where are they going to get
Right.
their tools from their tool bag from? We've got to be
They're
mindful of
going to
that.
get it from us.
Jesus Christ.
They're going to get it from us.
Yeah.
For sure. So I think, one of the things, like I mentioned, is that, it really is a mirror, like, and even how we respond when we're mad at them,
Mm-hmm.
they might respond to their kids the same way. And we got to like think about, how do we want
Right.
our kids to respond to their kids?
Exactly.
Knowing we still dealing with our own things,
Yeah.
I most mothers that I know have always have at some point felt like a bad mother,
Oh yeah.
because you feel like you have such
Mm-hmm.
high expectations for what you're gonna do as a parent, or even as a father, or and then life starts life in, and oh dang, Johnny didn't get enrolled in basketball this year,
Yeah.
and
Right.
so even though we try to be, what we think is the best parent, we sometimes we don't reach those things, because life is life, and then we got to show compassion for ourselves, and we don't have to be perfect. We
That's
don't
it.
have
Compassion.
to be perfect for us to have good kids. We just, learn the lessons. That's the most important thing, so that they don't show up in your kid, or that they're resolved in your kid if they showed up. So but yeah, it really is. You have a lot of, the responsibility is how you show up. What type of energy are you giving to your kids? Because that's the type of energy they gonna have. They just
Mm-hmm.
absorb. You know.
Energy matters.
Because I
It
always say
does.
it like this: it's not by chance that LeBron's sons play basketball. It's not by chance that Tiger Woods' son is a top golfer. It's not by chance that a lot of these singers, their kids are singers, because the kids do mirror. They whatever energy you giving out, they absorbing it.
Yeah.
And so you always got to be aware of what are we putting out, even as much as when we say good morning to our kids. Are we saying good
Mm-hmm.
morning? Ugh. Then that's probably how they gonna be saying. Are we
Right.
saying good
Right.
morning? It's a beautiful day. It's all about what we're giving and investing into our kids. That's what they get.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so
we
true.
The more the merrier.
Absolutely. All right, so let's wrap this up. I apologize that we went over a little bit, but with the conversation was so good that we wanted to make sure that we touch all the points. Does anyone have any questions before we just go around and ask your final thoughts about motherhood or fatherhood before we end the show?
I have a question. I asked our fraternity members because many of us, I am a member of Alpha Lambda Zeta Fraternity Incorporated. However, I posed this question
Yes, we
to
are.
many of them as what was the best part of being a parental figure, whether you're a mother, father, Maddie, grandmama, grandmama, granddad, or if you're an uncle and you have custody. What is, in high remaining sentences or short version, what do you feel is the best part of being a parental figure?
Go ahead, boss.
I'm sorry, I had it on mute. The best part for me is that legacy. um, I'm the third oldest, the first girl. So to have given my parents that granddaughter, that was big for me, and my dad is very protective, very close. That's his baby. Like, so to see
Mm-hmm.
that relationship and to know that I gave him that, I mean, that's the highest of the highest for me.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Malachi, you want to answer?
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree as well. The legacy, with both grandparents and parents and stuff gone, being able to do this to continue the bloodline is different. Something that's unbeatable to me as well, and also being able to install knowledge in them, and stuff that you can see grow. Like you say, you plant the seed in them, watch them grow. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's good to see that, because I ain't have a lot of that growing up as well, and being able to mold them in a way and watch them grow up and things like that, and provide for them for things that you didn't have and stuff like that. It's amazing, watching these little tiny humans grow into
Right.
adults and then having their own lives. Only if I can just live forever to just see it. So yeah, that's what I like.
Andy, you wanted to go?
You puke.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
You're on mute,
Andy,
Andy.
you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. One of my joys is just seeing my son and just reflecting on how he grew up, and how he's changed along the years. And even, when he comes home from college now, I remember when he left because he didn't want to do dishes, and now he's like, don't do the dishes, I got him. I'm like, whoa.
Yes.
Listen, the dishes
Yes.
done.
So I'm like, they come back around.
Yeah.
So just seeing just his evolution, and it's just a beautiful thing. And also, our relationship is changing now. We have different conversations, about things, and he's opening up more, now that he's out of his teenage years. And so, I'm enjoying, that part about it, so, definitely motherhood has, like I said, it's been, definitely the hardest job I've ever had to do, hands down.
Mm.
But worth it. I do it all over again.
Keisha, the therapist.
For me, legacy, of course, but just being able to pour into somebody with everything I have and everything I am, and watch them blossom into who they're meant to be, with the character that I've helped develop, and the spiritual lessons that we've gone through together, and making sure that they're emotionally intelligent and mentally capable and ready to be able to make their mark in his own world is just a beautiful.
That's awesome. I can know for me, I might not have the natural legacy, but the legacy that I know that I'm enjoying passing on to my daughter is the legacies that was passed on to me from my great grandmother, that spirituality. Walking her through when I'm praying, she's praying. When I'm studying, she's studying. She's asking me questions and I'm able to answer. I'm able to show her those spiritual things that my great grandmother showed me and that I can pass down, because to me, that's a part of my lineage and my legacy. I'm from the Geechee Gully tribe. And so that is part of my history that I'm able to give my daughter. Also, the fact that I'm a spiritual person and she was prophesied to me when I was 15.
Mm.
And just like the word says, this whole wait, despise not prophecy, but hold fast to that which is good. And I held on to that prophecy, even though I didn't want to birth a child.
True.
And the fact that I can see that manifested thing in real life is amazing. I look at her and I'm just always in awe, not just because she's pretty, but because this is something that I held on for years, that I carried in my heart and my mind, and she's walking next to me. The fact that, yes, now granted, she came during a very emotional time. She was birthed literally 6 days after my mom's funeral. And prior to my mom's passing, my mom came out of her coma and asked for her. And she was like, I know she was here. Joy, I know. And I'm like, Mom, she's still in Shay's stomach. So knowing that, and I thought that I lost that connection because I'm like, Mom, I just need you to hold on so you could have seen her. But then I'm always going back to the fact you did. You had a
Yeah.
chance to be with her in that transition and in that passing. So I make sure that she knows who my mom is by her pictures. I tell her how great my mom was so she can still have those experiences, because regardless on the life that my mom put on me and that was bad, my mom had a lot of good. And I wanted my child to know that. So that's the legacy that I can give her. And again, I literally just look at her in awe. And I'm like, this this is the best part of my life, is the fact that she chose me to be her parent. And I'm taking that with everything and I'm running it to the ground because I'm gonna try to be the best parent. And so yeah, it's that's my legacy that I can give my daughter, is the legacy of our spirituality, the legacy of our history, and it's something I can teach her, and I know that she's going to take it and pass it on to her children, regardless of if our blood is different.
Good points. Good points. I'm gonna close and say for myself, it would be the ability to pass along the wisdom, the knowledge, and experiences that I've had this 49 years of my journey onto them, right? And it doesn't just get passed on just to the kids or nieces and nephews, but any kid, right? Because your kids bring other kids home too for some reason. Um, to any kid, right? The knowledge and the wisdom, and hopefully at some point they'll understand that, you know, in order to get to 49, you had to pass 18, 19,
Mm-hmm.
20, you know, and that you do actually know some things, right? You've been around the block a
Right.
couple times, you learned, got some bumps and bruises along the way, that kind of thing. But just to be able to pass along that wisdom, that knowledge, that information, and offer guidance as, you know, they try to navigate life themselves. So that would be what I hope
That's
to pass.
good.
Cool. Well, can I answer my question too, Fred?
Go ahead, girl.
Before we go.
Yeah.
For me, I would say that when God aligns me and my future wife to have Dallas, and the idea of what that may look like, but in the time frame I'm in now, I get to, while on earth, I get to, everybody knows I'm sunshine, like I just wake up this
Mhm.
way. But I in the present, I get to instill this in all the kids that call me Maddie now. They
Mhm.
see this sunshine. They see me as I can be. I get to instill the love, the compassion. I'm a country boy at heart now, so I teach you some stuff early. Now I ain't gonna show you how to drive a tractor like I did at 8, but I'm
Right.
gonna teach you some life lessons, and then I'm also going to show you how some things are better learned than told.
Yeah.
So with the things that I've gained in my 10 to 40, I get to share that with some little person or little people, and it's an honor for me. So that is one of the best things
Yeah.
about being a parental figure. I get to share 40 years of experience and, you know, ongoing with little people to one day create a legacy where they'll be known as good of the world and not of the world.
Right. That's good. That's
That is
awesome.
beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna just say I love each and every one of you. Thank you all so much again for taking out your Friday night to spend with
Short
us on the
notice.
Regal Mindset Podcast Show.
Short notice. Thank you.
Right. Remember to keep a Regal mindset. Please like, follow, and share the content. And again, till next time, we love you and we'll see you soon.
Thank God for having us.
Thank
Happy
you
Mother's Day.
for having
All
me.
right, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.